real talk, this was really and truly, it was all a dream. I'm not trying to quote Biggie, but it really was, you know, just 3 years ago, way different place, and now we're here off the Beltline, a young business in Atlanta. I want you guys to come and visit us anytime, and we're so happy to be here. So welcome to Goodr. I moved to Atlanta in January of 2013 from Phoenix, Arizona, and I was just really trying to come and be an entrepreneur. You know, I was in a relationship, I was living in Phoenix, he was living in Florida, and we thought, let's meet in Georgia and start a life together. The relationship didn't work out, but my dreams of being an entrepreneur certainly did.
You go to the places, whether it's Hartsfield or the Congress Center or Turner, and you package up the food and take it to organizations that can distribute it either in a pop-up fashion or they have a food kitchen.
At Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, every night a special pickup. But without this team, all of it would end up in the trash.
I think that when Jasmine decided to do one of her first big philanthropy things, it was Black Celebrity Giving. And she was just sick of African Americans being seen in a negative light. She wanted to highlight some of the positives that they did in the community. She found that African Americans, especially celebrities, were very popular for the shoes that they wore and the clothes that they wore and the places that they went, but not the things that they did. And Jasmine wanted to put a spin on that.
Living in Arizona, there weren't a lot of Black celebrities, and so Atlanta seemed like an optimal place for me to be. And I got here, and I was really successful. I was able to work with a myriad of celebrities, from the likes of Candy Burris from Real Housewives of Atlanta, as well as Escape, hip-hop stars like Future, Jeezy, T.I., producers Mike Will Made It, and many more. One day while I was driving through downtown Atlanta, I saw a lot of people that were homeless. And for me, it was the first time I had ever seen that, other than visiting Los Angeles, California, and seeing Skid Row. And so I felt like I was compelled. A lot of times people will say, what made you go home and post that you were gonna start feeding people downtown Atlanta? And I honestly don't have a real reason. There was nothing that happened. I wasn't experiencing hunger or homelessness ever in my life, but in that moment, something really just shook me to my core. I saw all these children, I saw people that were homeless, and I felt like I needed to do something.
We learned that Atlanta was #2 in the country for homelessness, so driving through the cities and seeing, like, before, now they've closed a lot of those shelters and stuff down there, but it used to be like just homeless people like on every block, and it was just something I think we weren't used to, and I think it's something she really wanted to impact and make a difference to. So she wasn't really getting anything out of it. I think she just wanted to help the community.
And so I went home and I posted on Facebook, you know, next weekend I'm gonna go out, I'm feeding the homeless, come and volunteer with me. And I decided to call it Sunday Soul, which was a mixture of old school music and good soul food Sunday dinner. And my first meal was a spaghetti dinner, and I remember thinking, oh, I can make this in 2 hours, and my kitchen looked a mess because it was a lot to prepare food for upwards of 100 people. But I was able to get the meat donated, I was able to get volunteers to bring desserts and teas. I provided the plates, the aprons, and I had a salad and corn and garlic bread and spaghetti, and I fed about 150 people that day, and people were just dancing, and they just seemed so happy. And I remember that was on Trinity Avenue, downtown Atlanta. And people said, when are you coming out again? And I was like, I'll be back in 2 weeks. At the time, I had a local food bank that was donating some of the food to me. And that lasted for about a good 7 to 8 months. One time the police came, we were feeding in a parking lot, and they were like, this parking lot is off limits. And that food bank basically said, well, we can no longer donate to you anymore. So here I was, I had this rhythm going, I'm feeding every 2 weeks, and they just stopped donating to me. And I started thinking, like, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna still do this? And I just started doing it out of my own pocket and became extremely crafty, if you will, on how I was gonna get these meals paid for.
Up until this point, Jasmine and I would literally price match, coupon, go to every store, gather every coin that we could possibly gather to put together these feedings, and more so Jasmine's coins. Like, I contributed where I could. My contribution more was I just was there to help her cook. I helped her cook every single thing for the past 3 or 4 years. So it was really interesting for people to say, where'd you get the food catered from? Because we had stayed up. I mean, the whole process to do a Sunday soul would probably start on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. And obviously it's on a Sunday. So it would probably start on a Tuesday or a Wednesday where, you know, we go to Walmart, and Jasmine likes to say we're the reason that Walmart doesn't price match anymore, because we gave Walmart a run for their money. We would go in there and we would be like, well, this is cheaper at Kroger, and this is cheaper at Publix, and this is cheaper at CVS, and this is cheaper here. So we made it very difficult for the people at Walmart to kind of honor some of the prices, but it was literally like a grassroots kind of thing, and we needed to save all the money that we could save, and literally the money that we saved, Jasmine just put it towards something else. She put it towards a DJ. She put it towards linens and menus, and I mean, her feedings weren't basic, they weren't traditional. It was something that a lot of people had never seen before.
In January of 2016, I decided to elevate that experience by letting people actually sit down and feel like they were at a restaurant. And I started renting tables and chairs and linens, and I would get these menus designed on Fiverr, and I would print out these menus and let people actually sit down and dine with dignity. And so it was a 5-course meal. We'd start with appetizers, then we would have soups, salads, entrees, and desserts, and we would bring around these hot towels. And I did that, and I remember seeing people like wiping their faces and washing their hands and just feeling like, I'm about to sit down and have this meal. I get to sit down. I don't have to eat this food on the floor. And a video from that pop-up restaurant that was underneath the bridge by Grady Hospital in downtown Atlanta, Georgia, went viral. And I remember waking up probably 3 or 4 days later after the event had happened. Someone had shared it on Facebook, and it had like 1 million views. And I woke up one morning to thousands of friend requests, lots of people writing me on Instagram and writing on Facebook saying like, who donated the food? This is the best thing I've ever seen. And the reality was nobody.
Jasmine's always been like a giving person. Like, in a lot of ways, she like raised me, and so she just always made sure like I had the best of everything. Like, just always went out for like birthdays and things like that. So just giving in that way. Always been very entrepreneurial. Like, Jasmine's had a lot of businesses. And then the giving, I think she gets that a lot from our dad, who is very like active in the community. He was always like a big brother, like mentor to like young men in the cities that we grew up with. And I think Jasmine gets a lot of her like giving back from our dad.
My dad likes to take the credit of why I'm so committed to people that are experiencing homelessness and hunger. When I was 7, we were visiting Washington, D.C., and I just literally the whole way I was asking him, like, why are those people, you know, why don't they have a home? Why don't they have food? And so he thinks he instilled it in me then.
I'm blessed to be her father, and I'm not surprised at the kind of woman she turned out to be. I saw this in her from an early age. As a matter of fact, my mother saw this in Jasmine when she was about 4 or 5 years old. My mother told me that Jasmine's going to grow up to be something great one day. And we could see that, but I think the key to that was creating an environment where Jasmine could be herself, could grow, and could explore all the things that she wanted to explore as a young girl. One of the things her mother and I tried to do is role model the life of giving. And I think Jasmine was fortunate enough to see us give to so many people that we encountered through our life that was less fortunate than us. And there's numerous examples of that, but I've always tried to give Jasmine an opportunity to reach down to help others and pull them up to where we were.
In June of 2017, I volunteered with a group at a local food pantry on the south side of my home city in Atlanta, Georgia. It was a Friday afternoon, the day of their weekly food giveaway. And as I drove up, I saw people beginning to arrive, many with their rolling carts in tow, prepared to receive their food supply for the week. As I was walking in the door, there were about 40 people outside waiting in line. And I was so excited because there are very few things I enjoy more than giving back. But then, as I entered the room where the volunteer meeting was taking place, I immediately realized we weren't about to give these people any real meals. We were essentially just giving them food. I took my place on the assembly line, where, get this, I was in charge of making sure that the Weight Watchers ding-dongs made it into every family's bag. As the bags started to come around, I'm thinking to myself, what on earth are we doing here? We made over 100 of those bags that day, and people indeed stood in line to receive one. But a feeling came over me. I felt bad and a little angry. It was like, how could I even feel good about the work that I was doing when I knew for a fact that not one meal was to come from the food we had just given to over 100 families? I mean, who wants to have a meal with barbecue sauce and ding-dongs? All of this made me realize that hunger was not an issue of scarcity, but rather a matter of logistics. So in 2017, I set out to end hunger using technology.
Still to come on Growing Goodr.
When I was practicing for my pitch competitions, I would practice day and night.
Okay, this is Jasmine Crow from Goodr Co. Your 5 minutes begins now.
Goodr is an app. We inventory the food a business sells. When they are closing, they request a pickup. One of our do-gooders, using Google Maps API, gets it delivered to a nonprofit preventing the food from going to waste. We're doing business as usual. We're doing Goodr. And then the coronavirus hits and everything stops.
At least 6 people have died in an outbreak of the new coronavirus.
So at least 565 people are dead.
At this moment, we have 22 patients in the United States currently that have coronavirus. Unfortunately, one person passed away overnight.